Listen, man, I'm good. As I told you, I'm blessed and I'm cursed. Right?
Oh,
Looking good has a lot of responsibility, Los. A
wait.
lot.
So looking good is a blessing and a curse.
Man, it's a lot of responsibility, man. We can't say hi to everyone. You know what I mean?
I
Can't
ain't
be
never
nice to
heard.
everyone.
I ain't never heard looking good. You can't say hi to everyone. What's up, people? How is it going with y'all, man? Thank y'all for joining in, and thank y'all for joining in week to week. And if it's new, thank you for joining in new with us as well. I'm Carlos V. Spencer.
And I'm your boy, Coach Rod.
Yes, sir. Today, our topic is what does it look like to be a leader and to practice leadership in your home as a husband and a father? Again, what does leadership look like in your home as a husband and as a father? So, some of you may be husbands and a father, some could be a father, some may be a father, and maybe you're not together with the family. I was married for 20 years, went through separation, went through divorce, and I'm no longer in the home, but I spent 20 years in the home. So I got some experience of that. And I do have some experience of and challenges of what does it look like not outside of the home as well. So we're going to jump into that. We'll get into that, into the few topics that we have for today. But first and foremost, man, my guy, Coach Raj, you're looking good, man. I would say you're smelling good, but I can't smell you. But I believe you're smelling good too, man. How you doing?
Listen, man, I'm good. As I told you, I'm blessed and I'm cursed. Right?
Oh,
Looking good has a lot of responsibility, Los. A
wait.
lot.
So looking good is a blessing and a curse.
Man, it's a lot of responsibility, man. We can't say hi to everyone. You know what I mean?
I
Can't
ain't
be
never
nice to
heard.
everyone.
I ain't never heard looking good. You can't say hi to everyone. I love it, though. I love it. So listen, man, we're Black Dad Unfiltered. We thank you for joining in. Those of you who are watching here, whether it be on the social media platform, and those of you who are listening in on the podcast, subscribe, share this out with anybody. If it's a blessing to you, share it to somebody else that it could be a blessing to as well. You never know how you could change and impact somebody's life by just sending them some information. I believe that we can change ourselves based upon the things that we learn. And I believe that the best way to learn is not by your own experience and failing. I believe the best way to learn is to learn from somebody else's experience. And this is somebody else's experience. You're hearing from our experience, and you're also hearing from us pull from other people's experience as well. So, man, being a father, one of the best joys that we could ever have in our entire lives. I'm actually a little bit different question breaking in and into the session. I've actually before, what does it feel like being a dad? What does it feel like being a son? Talk to me nice.
Listen, I'm gonna be very honest with you, man. I'm spoiled. And I
Oh,
love it. Yeah, I'm
okay.
spoiled. I'm spoiled. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So spoiled by your dad, your mom, a mixture,
No,
one
no,
of the
no, no,
two.
not my dad. Not my dad.
Oh, okay, so we being clear. We being clear.
Yeah, no, I'm spoiled by both of them. So
Yeah.
one, again, both of us always trying to be present in the moment. I'm thankful that I do have access to my parents, that I do get to talk with my parents. I'm at the point now in my stage of life where I get to laugh with my parents. It's weird being their son, but knowing that I can crack jokes like I would with you and they would die laughing. My mother's become more of my friend, but I'm spoiled with love, to be quite candid in that part. I'm very fortunate to know and feel that my parents love me. And then I'm fortunate to have a relationship, man. Like I can make my dad. It's funny. We were driving the other day. For the first time in my life, my dad started talking to me like we were boys our whole lives. And started talking to me about stuff that dudes talk about in the locker room, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not ready for this. Dad, stop this. I don't want to hear about sex. I don't want to hear it. Stop,
Wait.
please."
This is when you good and grown.
This is 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I'm driving, and he's like, "Yeah, man. So my man," and I was like, "This, where we going with this?" Yeah, and his girl.
Where's this conversation going?
Yeah, I said, "What we do?" Los, man, when I told you I watched too many movies, I was ready to just open that door and just roll out and see my father meet his demise. Because I was like, "You stop this. Stop."
You gotta stop this. You ain't ready for it. You good and grown, got your own kids. Still like,
Yeah,
nah, dad, I'm
yeah.
good.
But again, thinking back, I would have never imagined these days
Yeah,
being able to have this level of conversation. But
right.
again, it feels good to be a son, man. It feels good that I get to see my mom smile and laugh and have pride in me. And and be able to help her and show
Right.
her how much she means to me. So again, I know we were laughing, and I don't want to take away from that levity, but again, I didn't expect you to ask me that question, but I tell anybody, man, and anybody who comes in my circle, they're like, "Wow, this is crazy." I say, "Yeah, I've been blessed. Parents who raised me with discipline, but love."
That's dope, man. And that's take advantage of what you have. Um, I'm blessed to be a son as well. So of course, I love the statement you shared before in past episodes that in order to be a black father, you've had to be a black son. Right. And when hearing that, we oftentimes definitely think about our fathers, and we're Black Dad Unfiltered. So we talking about fathers, and my father's passed. So I don't have my father in my life anymore. But to be a son, to be a black son, my mother's still alive. And I am now extremely aware of having my mother and taking advantage of that. And I've said this in an episode before that we had. And I've talked about people who will lose a father and then won't realize what you had until your father is gone. So try to be aware of what you have now. Well, a good friend of mine lost his mother in our adult age.
Mm,
And I remember him saying to me, Los, you still got your mom. I think a lot about not having my father. And man, people take advantage of having your dad.
mm,
He really brought it to my
mhm,
attention. Hey man, my mother's no longer here. And he's grown, older than me even. He like, I wish I could go see my mother the way you about to go see her. So my
mhm,
mother is in Georgia, so I get a chance to go and see her. And when I see her, I spend time with her.
mhm,
I embrace her.
mhm,
Well, I'll make sure when we in the car together, I'm engaging in conversations. I'm asking her things I've never asked her before. I'm asking her things about my father. I'm asking her things about
mm,
her relationship with my dad. I'm
mhm,
asking her things. I'm going through a divorce, and since I've gone through a divorce, my mom had one as well. I'm asking her, "How did you go through it, Mom? What did you do with it?"
mm,
And I'm very present to the answers. Right?
mhm,
I'm not busy on my phone or texting or doing
mhm,
something
mhm,
else.
mhm.
I'm in that space because I want to be able to say that the day when my mother is no longer here, I took advantage of my mom in my adult life. Right. So, man, listen. First segment of the day. We always have two segments. Our first segment of the day is usually something that's going on, maybe in the media, or maybe a popular person, or maybe some type of black father. We try to bring some type of attention to, or talk about something that's actually going on, and change the narrative in the sense of not posting something that or talking about something that's always bad or negative. Let's have a conversation. It may
Mhm.
be some touchy conversations, right? Maybe some edgy conversations, but we're going to try to change the narrative and shed a light on the good things. I'm gonna let you take it away on this clip, man, and we're gonna jump into it, especially for our sports fan. This this
Yo.
this one going. Let's go on. They say if you can't say amen, say ouch.
I love that one. So, Los, I sent this to you. I was like,
Yes.
this is great because it should be a simple decision as far as we pretty much share similar mindsets.
Mhm.
So, Rudy Gobert, I think it was what, 2 nights ago? Today's what, May 8th? So,
Mhm.
maybe 2 nights ago, May 6th, Rudy Gobert missed the second game of a playoff series between Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets
Mhm.
to be there for the delivery of his first child,
Okay.
right? So
So
let's
so
frame
so
this.
yeah, I am, and I won't poke it a little bit. I'm gonna let you go. So
Mhm,
he missed the basketball game, a playoff game, second
mhm,
round game,
mhm,
game two. He's
mhm.
an important player, right?
Defensive player of the year for the
Defensive
fourth
player of
time.
the year.
Mhm.
So I want people who understand sports and people who may not to understand that this is a person who
He's no scrub.
he's no scrub. Right? Right? Yes.
You know what I mean? Um, so here's the thing, right? So let's frame it for our listeners and those who know sports get it, but just stay with me. As an athlete, you and I played sports. We played college sports. I would like to say at the highest level, but we played at a very high level. And the goal was to get to the playoffs when we were Division One AA, and the goal was to get to a bowl game when we were 1A and potentially make the pros. So when you think about this situation that Rudy Gobert is, he's a member of a basketball team. He's a key member of a team,
Professional
right?
team.
Professional team, which key objective is to win a championship. So not only is it an organizational objective, but as an athlete, it is an aspirational objective. As athletes, you want to win, and you want to win and be first in any level of sports you're playing. But as a team, there is interdependency,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Denver, reigning champions, arguably the best player in the National Basketball Association, the NBA, is on the Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
You just came off on a surprising win. This second game can pretty much propel you to two series away from reaching your dreams as athletes. And you have your best player say, I'm not making it this game. I'm going to be there when my child is born. Right? No brainer. Except when I started hearing and reading some of the backlash,
Yeah.
that kid's going to be there when you're done after the game.
Uh-oh.
Right? I
Wait,
can
so people were saying you could have played the game and then went the kid's gonna be there. You could have went and saw the kid at your child
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah. Right. And we're gonna have a fun back and forth with this because we're gonna do this segment a little bit different. Someone else
Okay.
said, and this is the part that really got me. Someone said, yeah, my lady would have to have hold off for me until I got there. Right. Because I gotta play this game.
I gotta
And
play this good.
and I said, ho. Now again, I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't have that mindset. But I did play sports and I put my body through it.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk to you, Los, right? Because
Ooh,
you
this first
have
segment might be it today. Go ahead. I don't know if we go get segment two. Go
you know what I
ahead.
mean? You have a starting 5 basketball team, right?
Uh-huh. I
You
got
got
5
5
children. I
kids.
do. I
Yes.
do. That I do. And so
Some
I
people would
heard
say it's a
somebody
lot.
said, "Oh, we're gonna have another child. We may not have another playoff, but go ahead. Go ahead. Man."
We we may never get another Super Bowl, but we can always have another kid, right?
But we can always have kids.
Good
That's
Lord.
what they were saying.
Yeah. But in your case, you did have a number of kids.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put you in a different scenario because you already had 1, 2, 3. Let's say it's your 4th kid.
Oh,
What you doing, Los?
my 4th kid.
You done been to the hospital 3 times already. You know, each
It's
time you get used to it.
playoffs.
Hmm. And you got a chance to win. You got a
And
chance to win.
our topic is, what does leadership look like in your home
And
as
we're
a
not talking
husband and
about
a
leadership. What would you do, brother? What would you do?
father? At this age, I don't know about that yet. I could just speak to you now. As a man,
Hmm.
this is my job. And we're in the playoffs. So we're in the height of my job. I am going to work. I'm
Mm,
going to the game.
mm,
And I will say it's a little easier with the question that you put me on specifically for this one because
mhm.
you're saying that this is not my first child. So this is first child. No, it's a little bit different for him. I don't know if my answer is going to change. We're going to dive into it. But with the multiple children, if this is my third, or my fourth, or my second child, and it's not the first child, and this is what's paying my bills, I'm going to work. We unfiltered, right?
Yeah.
That child ain't gonna know I wasn't there at the birth. He's not gonna
Mm,
remember that. She's not
mm,
gonna remember that.
mm-hmm.
That child's gonna remember the roof over their head, food in their belly, their mom being able to be in the hospital and have the money that's necessary and insurance that's necessary to be able to have this child. Now, your wife, your significant other, they gonna remember. So I would say I would have the conversation, and I'd like to say I wouldn't myself. I wouldn't approach it like, "Look, woman, I'm going to this game. I'll be back." But I would like to have a conversation with her, and I do believe I would lean strongly towards, this is my job, and I'm going to my job, and I'll be back. So
Mm,
I'll fly right back after the game. Where you're a professional athlete, you got the money, you got the way to be able to travel and set
mm,
up everything. I have
mm,
everything set up.
mm,
Soon as the game is over, I ain't shaking hands, I ain't signing no
mm-hmm,
autographs, I ain't
mm-hmm,
doing no interviews. I'm out.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm going to the game.
mm. Okay. You threw me for a loop with that one, and I just want to make sure if anybody's listening, Carlos does not speak for everyone on this podcast. He speaks only for himself. Um, so okay, what if your significant other is against it, wants you in that hospital, but this is your job, and you got the livelihood of 11 other men and their family relying on you, defensive player of the year, to be there. Does that change the scenario at all?
It does. It changes the conversation
Besides
and
where you gonna sleep that night. Besides where you gonna sleep that night. What does it
besides that, right?
change?
Besides that, um, I'm going to work. I'm still going to
Mm,
work, and I'm gonna have a conversation to explain to my wife, to my significant other, the reasons why I'm going to do this.
mhm,
And I'd like to say I would listen and hear her out fully, but it's almost like a contradiction. My answer is almost contradicting me saying that. If
mhm,
I'm going, I'm going.
mm,
I'm going to the game, man. I'm going to this playoff game because this is how I pay my bills. This is how I feed my children. Um, I'm going to the game. So yeah, even if they disagree and even if they feel like that this is
mm.
not what I'm supposed to do and they want me there, I'm going to work. I'm going to work.
Wow, okay, okay, Los. You really not holding back, huh?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Are you gonna get the people an answer of what you would do?
Oh no, I'm gonna be in the labor room. I'm not.
Really?
Yeah,
You feel me
absolutely,
for a look too?
absolutely. I gave up my career to be a
Second
stay-at-home
or
dad.
third job? The
Second
second or
kid,
third
first
child?
kid, third kid, fourth kid, fifth kid, don't matter what kid. Los, in real life, I gave up my career to be
Super
a
Bowl.
stay-at-home dad.
Super
Doesn't
Bowl.
matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. So you brought up a good point, and I thought about this as I was thinking and preparing for this. I was like, man, so I remember birthday parties. Man, doing all this for 1 year old, they ain't gonna remember nothing. However, habits are hard to form. Bad habits are easy to sustain. Good habits are hard to create.
Mhm,
And if I'm a
mhm,
culture setter in my family, it's not about whether the kid is going to remember. It's about me consistently presenting myself and my values and my beliefs and saying, if my family comes at the forefront, and I'm not challenging you, this is me,
mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then my actions will always support my words.
Mhm,
So in real life, I gave up my career. I would say,
mhm,
okay, cool. Because I have the added benefit, and this is, and we're trying not to be preachy here,
mhm,
but I have the added benefit of knowing who is the author and perfecter of my life. So now, if my lady's like, "Hey, you don't need to be here. Go to the game," I'm still gonna be conflicted.
mhm,
I'm still gonna be conflicted because,
mhm,
again, for me, it's about setting the tone for who I am.
mhm,
But I can't get mad at someone who says, "I gotta pay the bills."
mhm,
You get what I'm saying?
mhm.
And I'm not telling anybody to do what I would do because it was tough. Yeah, I walked away from a lot of money. It was tough, but I also set the tone for anybody who was watching my family, any stakeholders in our family, that I'm not afraid. And so I will be there, not because the kid will remember, but because I said I'm their father. I said
Mhm.
I'm their leader. And the
So
decisions I'm willing to make will be hard ones.
now I'm about to come at you like you did me.
Go ahead.
Coach Rod.
What's up?
And that's the name, right?
You know what I mean? That's what the players call me. The ladies call me something different. But
Sounds
let's
like
go.
sounds like it from a sports perspective.
Mhm.
Um, what are you telling to your team, your teammates, your management that you, as a father and as a man, signed a contract to say that you would do this job? What are you telling them?
Yeah, I don't have the spirit of fear. It's just as
Mhm,
simple as that.
mhm,
It's I understand that we're a team. My family comes first. And if
mhm,
that means your judgment, fine. So one of the things I learned growing up was my friends are not raising my children. When I make the decisions to appease other people, they're not thinking twice about my children.
mhm,
They're not thinking twice about my partner. And so I'm fairly comfortable if it's for my family having the world angry with me.
mhm.
And again, these are decisions I've made. Anyone who knows me will tell you, yeah, Rod won't blink. Now, am I making $20 million a year? I don't know if that's going to change the conversation. To be quite candid with you, right? But making the coins that I make now, it's just like, yo, listen, This is more important. I'm
And I
gonna
get the friend thing. I'm gonna dig a little bit more. Then I'm gonna
Mhm.
let you go where you gonna go with it too.
Sure.
You're possibly being in breach of contract. So I'm
Mhm.
not talking about the friend piece. I'm talking to management,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
the team
Yeah.
where you have signed the
Yeah.
contract stating that
Mhm.
you would participate with this
Sure.
team and you're possibly in breach of contract.
Sure.
What type of conversation you having with them?
Uh, do what you think is right.
Mm,
Do what you think is important.
mhm,
Because the narrative will be he let his team down.
mhm,
The narrative in my house was my dad will sacrifice anything for us.
mhm,
And that will go on to my grandchildren and their
mhm,
great grandchildren. Right. Now, some of them may say, man, Pop is stupid. Right. They may say that, and so this is what I've done in real life with my children. This was
yeah,
one of the things I consciously did, and they know I did it. And I told them I did it so that they would know that my love for them can never be challenged by anything in this world. And so again, I'm fortunate that I'm a man of faith, and
mhm,
it allows me to think radically. It allows me to think without fear. It allows me to move. I'm not ignorant. I'm not gonna not put food on the table. But I know if I got money this way, I can get money that way.
mhm,
There are other options for me,
mhm,
right? And
mhm.
so I can't get mad at anyone because I know there's people that don't have that option.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
I don't have they don't have the option. But for me, and I was fortunate because I just thought differently from young. And you was in school with me, remember? You were in school with me. Look, I just thought differently from young. I said, I'm gonna figure this out.
Mhm,
Uh so yeah, so I can definitely get why people will say, listen, the kid's never gonna remember. But the topic for today is we're also a husband,
mhm,
and we think differently as men and women. How important is it that I pay the bills as opposed to providing my partner, my wife, my spouse security and safety? And so that's another question. That's something you have to unpack. And I'm going down this rabbit hole, low. So let me just do this for a second, and then
mhm,
I'm gonna hand it back to you. See, you said something that was interesting to me, which is valid. This is how I pay my bills, right?
mhm,
And put the roof over our head and allow
mhm,
us to turn the lights on and put the heat on and cook food and whatever, right? I would also say equally important is when I make the decision to be by your side through this moment, I'm placing your mental safety, your security above the dollars.
mhm,
And that in and of itself to me is another sign of leadership in your family.
mhm.
Now, we all got to be on the same page here. We all got to be aware, hey, this is what may happen.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
Mhm,
if you were used to going to Macy's, we're gonna go to Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree got a lot of purses, 99-cent stores got everything you need.
mhm,
You don't need red bottoms. We're gonna get you some nice Old Navy flip flops
mhm.
because of the consequences of my decisions. But
Right.
nevertheless, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna hand it to you, Los, man, because
That's
that's where
big.
my mind is at.
Man, I hear you, man. That you caught me by surprise with that one. And for me too, and like I said, we'll go into the second segment and we'll lean to it because it's gonna lead right to it anyway. But for me, even with you talking more, first I was like, dang man, Coach Rob making me look bad out here in these streets. Dang, he said I ain't taking care of my family.
I told you, man, it's a blessing and a curse, Los.
Yes, sir. But I will say some of my thought, just for the other side of the other argument per se. Yeah, what would happen, right? What if I lose this job? Some may say you may not lose this job off that one game. Yeah, but what about when you go to sign your contract again?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy, I don't know if he's here for us. And then what about the other teams looking you gonna get traded to? Yeah, you remember what he did, man. I don't know if we want that on our team or in our locker room. And so my mind is on all that stuff as well. And I'm like,
Yeah.
babe, I gotta secure our future. I gotta
So
secure our future and I gotta make this decision. And I might have to take the brunt of it with you being upset at me right now. But if our family is secure in the long run, babe, you gotta understand this is what I need to do for us. And like I said, for me, it's where my mind is right now.
no, it makes sense though, Los, right? Because we're not arguing, we're bringing up valid points.
Yeah.
provide for my family, stability for the family, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you study some level of
Right.
psychology,
Yep.
our basic instinct is what we call physiological needs, our basic needs, sorry, our physiological needs, right? Shelter, food, water, right? And then above that is what we call security, safety
Mhm.
needs, right? Steady job. So you ain't wrong, but it's a matter of where we what is our what are we called to be as leaders,
Mm.
as the husbands, as the partners, as the ones that are responsible. So we're just bringing two different perspectives to this, man. I think we need to just start diving right into the conversation, if you ask me.
Yeah, we already there. So what I think what it shows and what it
Hmm.
goes right into is for our main segment. What does leadership look like in your home as a
Hmm.
husband and a father? What does it look like in your home? And I'm going to touch on it. I'm beginning here, but I'm gonna jump into it later. I was in the home for 20 years. I'm not in the home anymore. I'm not a husband anymore. So that's different for me. I've done it for 20 years. So I can speak to what leadership looks like there. But I also, for me today, I want to
Hmm.
speak to those fathers who may not be in the home to say, what does leadership look like for you, right? With your children. How are you leading your children? Either if they're in the home with you or if they're not in the home. Like, what about that challenge and what does it look like? So, I mean, when you think of that leadership, what does it look like for you in your home? I'll dive into it a little bit. For me, I will talk a little bit of the beginning stage of the marriage, 20 years being in my home. What leadership looks like for me is more so leading by example. I'm a firm
Hmm.
believer of leading by example, and not the you do as I say is not and not as I
Hmm.
do. I'm a firm believer that your children are going to remember more of what they see than what they hear. As a matter of fact,
Hmm.
when statistics show that when you're speaking on stage per se, and you can translate this into your family, people retain about 80% of what you did on the nonverbal side. So people retain 80% of what they saw more so than they retain the things that they heard. And statistics show that. So people are remembering more of what they're seeing than more of what they're hearing. Now, that's not saying it's not important to say certain things. So for me, though, it just drives my point home as leadership is me saying something, but leadership is also my children seeing something. What does it look like? What's an example of that? Me opening the doors for my daughters when they were young. And even now, when we go somewhere, I'm opening the daughters for my daughters. I open the doors for them. Me taking them on dates. I remember taking them on dates and paying for their food. Here's another one. What does it look like? Me going to my daughter's school and taking them flowers and taking them bears when it wasn't Valentine and when it wasn't their birthday. Again, the point I want to drive home is the leadership for me is examples. Now, it's also saying things and speaking things, but I believe leadership is showing examples that even follow up with the things that you're actually saying. So it's really important to speak into our children's lives, bar none. It's really important to teach them. It's really important to lead them, but you lead them by example because when you're showing that example, you're now showing them that this is the way that they can follow. Here we go. My grandfather said, if you leading people and ain't nobody following you, you just out taking a walk.
Yeah.
So if you
That's a
going
good
and
one.
leading by example,
Hmm.
then people are actually following the example that you're leading and laying down. So as a father, I'll speak to
Hmm.
more so of that part. Leadership is also having a conversation with your children and relating to your children.
Mm.
My older son, and I'm gonna throw it right back to you after this. I have conversations with him, and I've had conversations with him relating to where he is and where
Hmm.
I was when I was that age.
Mm.
So leadership, I believe, is also understanding and remembering when you were there and not just speaking from some place that's so high that you can't even relate to your children that you're leading. Knowing this is me, knowing I wasn't a terrible child. I was pretty good actually.
No, it was
But I
bad.
was doing some stuff at the age that my children are that they're not doing. And so I shouldn't get so upset at the things that they're doing because they're doing a lot better than I was when I was that age. I would tell my son things like, be your age, be that age, son.
Mhm, mhm,
I
mhm,
don't want you to be when he was 18. I don't want you to have the responsibilities of a 25 or a 30-year-old. So the reason why I'm telling you to keep yourself and the reason why I'm telling you not to sleep around with a bunch of women and to save yourself, yes, I told my son this
mhm,
because I do believe, as we are unfiltered, that if a man or a young man would hear a man say something to them, especially in this space, my belief, I ain't throwing it on you. If a man or a young man hears a man say something to them, they'll receive it,
mm,
because a lot of young men and a lot of young black men don't hear certain things from their black father, so they
mhm,
don't know how to receive it since they're receiving something from the world, and the world may
mm,
be telling you got to sleep with a bunch of women, but
mhm,
my father is telling me no, it's okay, son.
mhm,
I found out that my son and even other people that I mentored, they receive it. And the reason why I told him that was because I put myself in that space where he
mhm,
was and
mhm,
said, I want you to be 18. I want you to go to high school. I want you to go to practice, enjoy yourself. I want you to have fun. I want you to go out to the parties. I want you to go out to your sports game and not have to come home and not have to work a job and quit your football team because you got to take care of a child and act like you're 25. I don't need you to be that.
mhm, mhm.
Leadership is looking around the corner for your son, even though they might not be around the corner yet. I'm gonna
Foresight.
throw it to you on that.
So now I feel the pressure, right? Because you just gave us a sermon, right? So you've often heard me say that I used to approach parenting as a business,
Mhm.
drawing from business principles. I didn't raise my children like they were a business per se, but a lot of things carried over. So, as I like to do when we do these shows, I like to define terms, right? So, what is leadership? I think that's important for us to define. 'Cause I think you showed how you implement it. I think you
Mhm.
showed how you manifest it. But what actually is it? Especially when you start thinking about the family and the home. And so, when we start thinking about the family and the home, the priorities of leadership is guiding your family towards wellness and harmony, right? That's your primary role when we start talking
Say
about
that one more
leadership,
time.
guiding your family towards wellness and
Mhm.
harmony,
Got it.
right? Um, However, let's talk about what are the roles of a leader, right? Because if you don't accept that definition, by all means, don't figure out one that works for you.
That's good.
But when we start thinking about the roles of a leader, and I'm going to use some business roles, and I wrote some of them down in case if I can't remember all of them. Visionary, right? Strategist, decision maker, change agent, team builder,
Mhm.
relationship builder, role model, coach and mentor,
Mhm.
uh, communicator.
Mhm.
You tell me if anything I said in those words, in those I think 10 words I just shared with you, you can't see applying to a family,
Oh, most
right?
definitely.
So when we start thinking about how do we show up, you first have to start asking yourself, these are questions I ask myself is what are my responsibilities? If if I am accepting this role, if I want to be in this role, if my partner is assuming that I'm taking on this role as they should, what are my responsibilities?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Visionary. We've talked about this before. What is the vision for this family? You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
What is the vision for this family?
Mhm.
Because the vision for that family includes, first and foremost, because the question was your wife, includes my wife, right? If you're married, you would say my wife, and then my children. What is the vision for us? Where do
Mhm.
I want us to be? So, oftentimes now, when I hear myself talk, because I'm older, it's listen, these next 20 years, I want to enjoy traveling and not worry about money. So
Mm.
I'm gonna put a plan together so that in 3, 4 years, I'm gonna travel the world and not worry about money. And I'm gonna enjoy my time with
Mhm.
my significant other, right? How do I get there? Now this is where the strategy comes in, right? So you as a leader, how are you budgeting? How are you managing the finances? How are you making key decisions? Yeah, are you tracking with me so far, Los?
Well, most definitely. Most definitely.
So now we start talking about the decisions. How are you making tough decisions? Because what I've experienced, what I have experienced, and I don't know if you've experienced this, when in a relationship, you are looked at to make a decision
Mhm.
when the decisions don't come with easy options
Mm.
or easy choices.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So are you comfortable? Are you willing to make decisions and deal with whatever comes from that decision?
That's
So when
good.
we start talking about how you show up, so I'm posing terms here, and hopefully we're all asking us as well, how do I show up when it comes to vision? Have I set the vision for my family yet?
Mhm.
Because when I used to teach classes, I would walk into a class in the front and I would stand still. Then I would turn right and I would start walking. And I'll ask the students, am I walking closer or further away from my dreams? And they would someone say further, closer. Someone would say, I don't know what your dreams are. Exactly. I don't
Mm.
know if I'm going in the right direction if I don't set the vision.
Mhm.
Right. And I got people following me. So I ain't trying to have my family 40 years in the wilderness when it's right across the street where we're trying to go.
Mhm.
You know, those who know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then this is another one. How am I showing up? So in business, we call it change agent, right? Which is your ability to be adaptable to the situation, to the environment, to circumstances. How am I showing up when it calls for my family to be able to adapt to the situation we're in right now? When there's a death in the family, how do I show up? When there's a childbirth, how how am I being adaptable? How am I coaching and mentoring not only my children but possibly my partner?
Mhm.
Right? Because one of the dreams that I have is, whenever I was in a relationship, I want to teach you everything I know, and I want you to teach me everything you know,
Mhm.
so that if I can't make a decision, I trust the decision you're gonna make. Communicator, right? How are you teaching communication in your family? What you said was powerful. You said people remember about 80% of your body language. I used to teach this course, career readiness, at the college.
Mhm.
And again, I'm ashamed that I can't quote this accurately, but paraphrasing, when it comes to communication, only 7% of it is actually the content.
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So your words only count for 7% of the communication.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how are you teaching communication, body language? What are you doing? Team building, relationship building. How are you teaching your kids to have healthy relationships? One of the things I'm adamant about with my son, because I failed in this, and I apologize publicly for putting this responsibility on him. But again, I never emphasize grades. I emphasize, can you have healthy relationships? And what is key to having healthy relationships is your ability to talk and communicate and be vulnerable with us and knowing when to be vulnerable. How do I create harmony in my family? Like my kids know I love watching my daughters because they're best friends. They are best friends. And there's no greater joy than seeing when your kids like each other because not all siblings like each other.
Mhm.
But one of the rules in my house is you will never say a negative thing about any one of your siblings. It's just not going to fly with me.
Mhm.
We got enough of that in the world. Here, we're only going to speak positively about each other. Right? So when you ask me how are you showing up, it really is, what is your definition of leadership? What are you defining are your roles and responsibility as a leader, and how are you now going to implement those, right? How are you solving problems?
Yeah.
Right? Because when your partner, your spouse, or whatever the relationship is, understands how you approach problems and how you make decisions, they're riding with you, right? Because remember, leadership is, you can come into a room and say I'm your leader. That don't mean anything. Like your grandfather said,
Mhm.
leadership is something that's bestowed upon you by those who want to follow you.
Right.
So just because you win the house, don't mean you're the leader of the house. Everybody in the house has to say, "Yeah, we'll follow his lead."
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying?
I
I,
love
I
that,
I
man.
spoke long enough, brother. Go ahead,
I
talk
like
to
how
me.
you took on the responsibility. I love that piece of it as well. The responsibility. Like if you're going to be the leader, you used to hear this term thrown around. I'm the father. I get the big piece of chicken, right? Yeah, you get the big piece of chicken. But leadership is making sure everybody else eat, right? So I'm not saying you shouldn't get the big piece, but I'm saying that you should start off making sure that everybody else is taken care of and making sure that you're taking on the responsibilities before trying to stand in this place that you demand certain things be given to you. It's not a balance. That's what I think. I want to speak to this specifically while you were saying
Mhm,
this. This was in my mind because I talked
mhm,
about, what is it like to be a leader if you're a
mhm.
father and you're not in the home.
Yeah.
And so I could speak to, like I said, the 20 years I could speak to being in the home.
Mhm,
But now I'm not being in the home. My children predominantly being with my ex and me not being there with my children on a day-to-day basis, which is hard. I won't go down that road, but this the hardest thing I've ever gone through my entire life, not being there. So I have my heart goes out to fathers who are in that space as well. But some of the things that I do that hopefully I can give you some
mhm,
tips is
mhm,
to make sure you're communicating with your children. I've communicated to them how much it does hurt me. I communicated to them that I know that they're hurt as well. And I'm
mhm,
not saying I understand all of their hurt, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I've said this to my children. Your dad's not perfect, and there's some things even moving forward that I may not get right. But
mhm,
I am going to be here, and I'm
mhm,
going to be here whenever you need to talk,
mhm,
whenever you need to have a conversation.
mhm,
But some other things in the space of leading in this space
mhm,
is I found to make sure that I'm present with the schools of my children, to make sure that the church that they're going to with their mom, that I'm present. What does that look like? I'm having teacher conference, parent teacher conferences with my teachers, with the teachers of my children, and I'm asking them specific questions and I'm following up. And when a couple months go by with them, I'm leading by being present and then having those conversations with my children. And we all know, whether you know it or not, I will say whether you know it or not, scratch that. I don't say we all know that children usually receive different behavior when they know both parents are in that child's life.
oh,
So I'm
facts.
leading by making sure I'm present
Mhm,
and by making sure I'm having conversations and making sure that I know the things that are going on in my children's lives. And I'm making sure that I'm leading that. Here's an example, and I'm gonna toss back to you. I'll wrap this up. I'm having conversations with their teachers,
mhm,
and I'm having the conversations with my sons and my children. I also know who my children are. So I'm taking the information that they're giving me, but everything that they say to me, I'm not taking it like it's Bible. What does that mean? I know my children. I'm not saying they're perfect, but there's some stuff that you might say about my child as a leader. I'm going to take that information and have a conversation with my child. But as a leader, I'm not going to immediately assume that my child is doing a bunch of negative things just because you're saying something.
mhm, mhm,
So I
mhm,
am giving my child the space, but at the same time, I am leading my child and I'm coming back to them and asking them, well, what's going on with this classroom? What's going on with that classroom? And I'll say this. I'm a I'm a I'm a big believer in making sure that I congratulate my children as well.
mm,
So my children are doing some things I need to correct them as a leader. I'm going to correct them, but I believe as a leader, I'm also bigging them up. I'm also congratulating them. I'm also celebrating them. I'm also spending a lot of time on the things that they're doing well. So that the things that they're doing well, I will lead them to do those things better instead of focusing 90% of my energy on the things that they're just doing bad. So I just want to share that piece, man, for some fathers who may be listening and may not be in the home, or maybe their children are with the mother of their child predominantly. These are some ways that you still can lead and be involved in your children's life
mm,
by being involved in their lives, reaching out to them. Call my children every day. FaceTime is a great thing. And I also make sure that I'm involved with the school system, with the church, and with other organizations, sports teams that they're involved with as well. Anything else you want to leave us with,
Man,
bro?
listen, I wanna ask you a quick question, though. So
Mhm.
does that mean because you're the father, you're the leader?
Does that mean because I'm the father, I'm the leader? Yes.
We're gonna have another show on that one, right?
Yeah. All right.
Because I don't think that's fair for me to ask you that just like that and not give
I,
the
I, I
chance to
know, I
extract
know.
it.
I didn't want
But
to expound just too
yeah,
much
yeah,
on,
no, no,
but
no.
I gotta stand as they would say on my square and say yes.
Mm,
Am I the only leader? No.
mm, mhm,
Am I the leader?
mhm.
Yes.
Well,
And
translating for some, standing on your square means standing on business, just in case.
just let you know. Just let you
Just
know.
you know what I
Just let
mean?
you know.
You know what I mean? I
Hey,
got the grades, but
you
Carlos
about to
is
have
older than
me
me.
give another my grandfather said on that one, man.
I just want people to know I got the gray beard, but Carlos is actually older than me. Just so we clear about this, right? But you said a lot, and I just want to draw attention to what you showed. What you spoke about was being a role model, Consistency of character is important in leadership,
Very much.
right? You talked about emotional intelligence, right? And we talked about this before. Anyone who's
Yes.
been in our circle and even on some of our recordings, we talked about you having emotional intelligence and bringing that to your children. That's part of your responsibility. You talked about mentoring and coaching. So these are great ways to show up as a leader in your family. But I will always say, as we begin to wrap this show up, define what leadership is,
Mhm.
right? Set vision. And just so you're clear, in in the business environment, setting a vision can be from the owner and it can also be collaborative, all encompassing, also identifying the culture, right? And when you're leading, you're bringing people into the process so they can have input. So if you want to lead your family, I get a lot of insight from my kids. My kids always know, you bring me a good enough argument, you'll change my mind.
That's good.
You'll
That's
change my
good.
mind. It's not absolute, but you
Mm.
have to give me a compelling argument because I will listen to you.
That's good
And
leadership.
that was one of the biggest things I did that my children were like, Dad will listen.
Mm.
We just have to know what we're actually saying,
That's good.
right? Because I'm not, I have to guide you towards your future, not the future I have for you.
Mhm.
So there has to be adaptability and there has to be strong communication skills. I think we did an injustice. We may have to pick up this conversation again, Los.
Listen, man, this will feel like it can go. There's a lot of good stuff in here.
Listen,
People,
man, time to unpack
share this.
it.
Yes. This thing was full of a lot of great information. Share this out, like, subscribe, click notifications. You on the podcast listening in. Please share this information out as well. Black Dad Unfiltered. I am Carlos V. Spencer, y'all.
It's your boy, Coach Rod. And in the words of my boy Los, let's go, let's grow, let's get it.
Y'all be blessed.
Let's go. Let's go.